Now, guys, this house here to your left on the corner is well over 100 years old. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where's the black plaque, right? Well, you don't have to buy them, guys. Not everybody does. Sometimes when you have these nice old houses, there's a couple of things that are a little bit higher up on the list than the black plaques. But this is a nice old house. As we take this turn, take a look up in the dormer, and you might notice some original stained glass up there. Also notice the corner windows. Windows where the corner of the house would have been. It's got a slate roof. They've recently put some copper guttering and flashing around the chimney and turret. If you look at the siding on it, you'll see that each piece of siding has 2 lines of detail running along the bottom. They call that double beaded siding. If you look at the siding on the house here to your right, you'll see it has no beading. Of course, that is another sleeping porch there on the rear. Now, guys, this next house coming up here to your right was sold last year. It's a duplex, 1 up, 2 down. They were asking $279 for it. They've done a little bit of work since then, mostly cosmetic though. Guys, the street that we're on right now was made of dirt in the 1800s. If you were a lady, you didn't want to hop down into these dirt streets and soil your petticoats. So what you would do if you were a lady is you'd tie your horse to your hitching post and you'd step down onto your carriage stone. You'd go inside here to visit with the family. Incidentally, guys, the family who lives in that house today is the same family that moved in 1870. Wow. It's been passed down to generations.
Wow, that's cool.
Now, guys, coming up here to your right, there's a tall white house in the corner. This is the tallest one in the neighborhood, and there's a reason why this one's so tall. This was the home of Benjamin Beery. He was a shipbuilder here in town. He built blockade runners and ironclads during the Civil War. He wanted to be able to see over his neighbors' homes down to his shipyard at the river to make sure his men were still working. Notice the porthole windows in the bottom? The people who built his ships were the same people who built his home. As we get alongside these windows, take a look through. Those are 12.5-foot ceilings you're looking at. A few years ago, this house was purchased, and it was turned into a bed and breakfast. It's now called the Verandas. Of the 27 bed and breakfast inns in town, the Verandas are second to none. If you don't believe me, don't take my word for it. Take a look at the street sign here to your left. Second to none. Now, to your right here, guys, there's a Mediterranean-style home in the corner. People were moving here from all over the world, even in the 1800s, because of the port. And sometimes you can get an idea where they were coming from by the style they chose to build their homes in. This next one that's coming up here to your right was sold last year. They were asking $479 for this one. That's in a pretty much unrestored state. This one's come a long way in a short period of time. I couldn't tell you what it'd be sell for nowadays. Coming up here to your left is a purple Victorian-style home. That, of course, is an English style of architecture named after the Victorian period in England. Wilmington was originally an English settlement called New Liverpool. In fact, all the streets here in town were originally named after the streets in Liverpool, England. To your right here, there's a thin little driveway between these two houses. Looks like a driveway, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It's a carriageway. In the days when these houses were built, we didn't have automobiles. These paths that you'll find here in town are built and designed for horse-drawn carriage, and that makes them carriageways. To your right here, there's a yellow house and a pink house that are side by side. Those two used to be exactly the same once upon a time. They were built for 2 sisters by their father. Over the years, the yellow one has gotten away from the pink one, but they're now restoring it to look like it once did. To your left here, there's a slate gray house with a second-story balcony. There's a window that goes all the way down to the floor in that balcony. Now, in the days when the house was built, you were taxed by the King of England by how many doors you had on your home. In order to avoid the door tax, you put in a pocket window. A lot of people in those days were intentionally avoiding the door tax by leaving the doors off of their closets. The king didn't appreciate that very much, so he started issuing a closet tax, and that's when we started using armoires. To your left here, that's a reproduction iron fence in front. They dug a piece of that up in the yard, they cast a mold from it and reproduced the original pattern. That's an especially nice one. Now to your right here, guys, there's a white house on the corner with a little white picket fence around it. And it looks like it'd be pretty easy to jump over that fence if you tried, doesn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it. It's a 9-foot drop down there.
Whoa.
I got a pile of paper boys down there. That house in the corner is part of the old leather tannery. The houses beside it and behind it are also built in the foundation of the old tannery. This part of town used to be known as Tannery Hill. Coming up here to your left, guys, this White House just started getting some restoration work about a month or 2 ago. They say only 20 years ago, almost all the houses that you've seen today look just like that one does now. To your right here, under the porch and the bricks are some windows. That used to be the old coal bin down there. That's where you'd shovel your coal. Of course, nowadays, we don't burn coal anymore. They turned that to a kitchen. That house was built in 1829, although you'd never think you'd look at it. Coming up here to your right, we've got two matching bungalows that are side by side. If you look carefully, you can see these two are exactly the same. The reason why they're the same, the two families who built them hired the same carpenter, and he stuttered. No, not really, guys. Those are kid homes purchased from the Sears and Roebuck catalog. In the 20s and 30s, you could buy a kid home from the catalog and they'd ship it to you by rail. You put it together yourself. In those days, those houses back there cost about $750 a piece.
Wow.
Which was no small chunk of change in those days.
Yeah, that was the Sears home, that's right. That's cool.
Now, across the street to your left on the corner is our Community Arts Center. In 1940, that was built to be our USO in town. That's the third oldest USO building in the country. The oldest one's in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I meet a lot of people on this tour who tell me that's where they met the person they're with. It's okay, you can say it. Aww. Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it?